You are probably managing tons of WordPress websites right now, but perhaps some of them are no longer your highest priority. You might have a website that's running on the server, taking up resources, but there is no plan to update the content whatsoever. Or perhaps you have a website that's no longer worth maintaining, but still receives some traffic and still serves its value. It is basically the middle of too expensive to run, but too good to go to waste. And there are many sites in that perfect balance, including mine. So here are some options you could try for WordPress websites that are somewhat inactive but have to stay online. Be sure to watch to the end so you will know which method will work best for you. Number 1. Turn it to a static website, and personally, this is my favorite. In a nutshell, a static website is really just any website that runs without a database, which means there is no server required. Sure, the site is still being stored somewhere on a server. This just basically means there is no traditional computational process happening. I think the easiest way to think about it is like a fast food restaurant. In a traditional WordPress website, the food has to be prepared, cooked, and then delivered to the customer. But in a static WordPress website, it is like McDonald's or KFC. The food is already cooked and ready to be served in a moment. There is no cooking involved. From the customer's perspective, they look exactly the same. Most importantly, the site stays online and your visitors wouldn't even notice that you just moved to static. For example, this is my WordPress website, at least it used to, but now it is static. Can you even tell that it is a static site? Another benefit of using static site is you won't have to worry about maintenance and security because again, there is no database or server to attack. But how about the cost? Well, the good news is it is 100% free. You won't have to pay for storing your WordPress website to platforms like Cloudflare, Netlify, and Vercel. And the only thing that you need to pay is the domain name, and that's about it. But the question is it difficult to turn a traditional WordPress website to a static one? Well, no, not at all. It's very easy. Anyone can do it in just 5 minutes. If you don't believe me, I actually have made a tutorial video about how you can convert a WordPress website to a static site using the Simply Static plugin. It's very easy, you should check it out. But what if you're okay with taking the whole site offline but still want to access its media or the content without paying for the WordPress hosting? Well, enter Local WordPress. Local WordPress. You probably have heard this name before. Local WordPress is particularly popular among developers because it allows them to test various things locally and without having to pay for WordPress hosting. And that's really the one benefit that we want to exploit. There are many ways to get WordPress running on your computer, but the easiest one is by using an app called Local WP, but often just called Local. This won't require any complex installation process and the interface is quite intuitive. You can migrate your online WordPress website and set it to local. Everything would look exactly the same. You will still able to access plugins, themes, and other WordPress features, except maybe one thing will be missing, which is visitors. Since it is no longer online, only you can access the website. You can technically set it online via the live link feature, but only temporarily, and your computer has to pretty much stay active to keep the site online. Overall, this method is only good if you are okay with taking down your whole site offline but still want to access the website content. But can we get the best of both worlds? An online WordPress site that you can control via dashboard? Well, you might be interested with the last option. Switch to cheap hosting. Alright, I have to be honest, this is definitely not my original idea. You might have considered this option even before watching this video. After all, it is just logical. If you have a barely alive WordPress website that is consuming valuable resources on your server, then why not just put it into a less premium server? But there are a few things that you need to do before switching to a cheaper hosting. Cheaper hosting is going to be a lot weaker, generally speaking, so there are many things that you have to prepare before moving on. First, you have to remove unused plugins. But the question is, how many plugins you have to remove? Well, I have this formula. Go to the dashboard, check how many plugins on your website, divide it by 2, and the answer is the number of plugins you should have on your website. You might be thinking, wait, isn't that difficult to achieve? Indeed, it's very difficult, but it is possible. That's why I made a video on how you can streamline the number of plugins on your WordPress website without affecting the overall functionalities. You should check it out. Number 2, clean up the disk space. Images are usually the biggest offender here. From my experience, there are only 2 plugins that I can recommend: Robin and TinyBNG. These plugins are actually compressing images, not creating a copy or basically a smaller version of existing images. And this is a very important distinction because there are so many WordPress plugins that are actually not compressing images, they are just creating a new copy of existing images on your WordPress website. So you are consuming more space instead of reducing it, which is not something that we want to get. Alright, next up is you have to optimize for speed. Cheap hosting is slow, so try to optimize your site as much as you can. Fortunately, I made a video containing dozens of optimization techniques that you might have never heard before. Make sure to check it out. After these 3 things are fulfilled, you can now migrate to a cheaper WordPress hosting. But then, what is the cheapest WordPress hosting right now? Well, there are a lot. One of them is Hostinger with the cheapest plan at just $2.49 per month, which is ridiculous. The only caveat is you have to pay 48 months in advance, which equates to $120 upfront. If you're okay with that, then go for it. But if you prefer monthly payment, then I recommend xCloud, which happens to be the hosting that I'm using right now. And it is actually not some random hosting, it is a proper semi-managed WordPress hosting that runs very quickly. You can check the link in the video description, and I actually have made an xCloud tutorial video if you are interested. Honestly, xCloud is generally a safe bet since the pricing is more predictable than most web hostings, which often will jack up the price 3 times than the original. This is a common tactic that you have to be aware of. They start cheap but progressively get expensive. Be sure to keep that in mind. So that's it for today. Subscribe and watch this video because I'm sure you are going to need it.